coming up that could be of benefit to everybody. You've heard the last 2 or 3 years about voice, what I call voice analysis of the individual system and recommendations what to do about it. To me, and I've had the privilege of being through a class on this, it's absolutely mind-boggling as what can be done from this voice frequency alone. Today, we're privileged to have the granddaddy, the person who put this database together, or the two people who worked together who put this database together, which includes many, many thousands of things that work on the complexity of the human anatomy that help to understand what the problem is, or the problem may be there. Carl Parker from Vashon Island, Washington, is the man who has spent years and years putting together a database of many, many thousands of things. Marisol Gonzalez of Madrid, Spain, and he worked together. She will be running the projector and the PowerPoint thing today with him, and then they will have a combined 6-day class for practitioners, of course, right after the conference. Anyway, that's enough of that. Bring on and welcome Carl Parker this morning, please, and listen to this area.
A little nervous? I am. I'm going to talk about nutrition in relationship to your body function, to harmony, to wholeness, and a vibrational field in which we live. And to start it off, approximately a month ago, my wife and I were visiting the Strawberry Festival on Vashon Island, and one of the local bands began playing a song called I Want to Live. And this hit me pretty hard because every day I have 10 to 20 people that approach me about their health. They might want to know about their child having a cough, maybe back pain, arthritis, cancer. And about 20 years ago, I guess what started all this is when I started putting together this nutritional referencing, because it isn't so much the individual vitamins and minerals as much as it is understanding this synergistic action between all of these substances within the body. We as a nation, especially in the U.S., have adhered to a course of malnutrition based on the standard American diet. And most of you have heard that. It's the initials are SAD. We have to take credit for a lot of our own creations. When you're eating the processed flours, the processed oils, too many carbohydrates, too much red meat, all of this has an effect on the body. There's a total overload that takes effect. So I started collecting information, and it was about 1995 I started putting it into a database, a 4-way interacting database system. Right now I have approximately 9,000 substances, and that could be calcium, magnesium, as well as all your amino acids, neurotransmitters, anything that has a molecular structure that I can get a chemical makeup is in this substance list. And then I created a list of effects, your diseases, be it cancer, arthritis, etc. And then these two systems at a touch of a button relate. If I said, I want to know about asthma, I could put asthma onto my system, and it will tell me about the elements and various things that I've come across in the last 20 years. This research, there's a lot of tremendous research coming out of the 40s, the 50s, before penicillin came out, when there seemed to be a big switch in availability of information to the public. So back to that, the song and what goes on, and the fact that I want to live. Longevity is the theme of this conference. And if you have longevity and good health as part of your future, you must quit participating in this sad genocide program, because it is depleting your immune system and it's weakening your body. Now, sound therapy and the system that we have put together to understand this, how it works is I have taken the elements and through a scientifically based conversion factor have converted the elements from mass to frequency. Then from that, I am able to apply it to every molecular structure. Water is H2O, so it's 2 hydrogens and an oxygen. It converts that to a frequency association, goes to the frequency of the note of A. And so now we get into color association to substance. It's through this avenue of association that I am able to demonstrate to people what's going on in the body. We read your voice in hertz. It takes 15 seconds. Sometimes we like to run it up to a minute or two. With the new biosonic program, I'm able to do that. And it measures what's going on, and we see incoherency in the voice. We can pick what's happening. I can look at, for an example, I had a lady at this conference about 3 years ago, and she had given me several symptoms, and she was curious about a thyroid problem. And I'm not allowed to diagnose. I'm not a doctor. I have no naturopath licenses of any type. I'm just a self-learned person. But when I looked at the voice on her, there was a very sharp energy spike at one of the notes. Well, I have all of the muscles in here also. And off that muscle note, I asked her what was wrong with her knee. And because she had not mentioned this, and she said, well, it hurts every now and then. I said, no, it hurts you now. And she said, yeah, it hurts when I walk upstairs. I said, okay. I said, through kinesiology, your knee relates to the thyroid. And I asked her, what's wrong with your throat? And her eyes were very large now, and she says, well, I can hardly swallow. And I said, through the same technology, I says, that is the antagonist of the knee muscle, by the way, and that also goes to the thyroid. So this is the information that's going into this data system. Anybody who has this, you do not even have to do the sound therapy part of it. You don't need the frequency associations, but you can see the other part through muscle awareness, through the meridian associations that are built into this system. Just to understand this, to understand how food, you could go as basic, which I believe in, is the whole food approach to life, because then you're getting the synergist, you're getting all the phytochemicals that make everything work. When you start following problems like one lady, if you're just using a nutritional approach, she called me and had mentioned that her child had been coughing a lot for the last week, and taken him to the doctor, and they wanted to put him on a drug program to alleviate the cough. And my only comment was, does he drink milk? And they said yes. And I said, well, I suggest maybe you take him off of milk for 3 days and just see what happens. Of course, the cough quit. But then they're worried about, how do you get calcium? And we have a very major misconception of calcium, be it whether you take in your Tums and your Rolaids and your antacids and all these other good things, or you're drinking your milk and eating your protein. All of these things will prevent you from having any calcium, because calcium absorption is based on a pH factor, an acid pH in the stomach. It takes hydrochloric acid. So this information is in the database. It's intended to give people something to start with, because everybody that's asking me questions can buy books. Everybody can buy these books. You read them, and it's tremendous information in them. But I've taken hundreds upon hundreds of these books and this information, and I started putting it together so that I could have a quick answer. So I didn't have to remember what paragraph did I see that real unique thing about maybe cold sores. How do I get rid of my cold sores or something like that? And so this is in that database. That's the intent of it. For the practitioner, I just wanted it for every person, the general public, so that you can actually help yourself understand. It explains carbohydrates. It explains proteins. But it does it very simply, but yet it's very complex. It could be used by the college person as well as the general layperson who has no nutritional knowledge whatsoever. When you start going into vibrational energy, which we do, we're breaking things down into the micro. We're getting into the small things that put everything together. When I look at calcium, again, we'll go back into calcium. The bioactive form of calcium in the body, in other words, the form the body uses, is a calcium bicarbonate. Everybody heard of calcium carbonate. That's 11 enzymatic steps from being converted into a usable calcium in the body. It does not work, not that readily, and that's why you only get about 3% of it if you're lucky. And that's if you have some stomach acid to break it down. When calcium goes into your body, into the stomach, it takes that acid condition to make it soft. There's where your absorption factor comes in. Once it's absorbed and broken down in that acid condition, your vitamin D's, louder, your vitamin D moves that calcium into the bloodstream. It deionizes your calcium, moves it into the bloodstream. From there, it takes sodium. Everybody's afraid of sodium, but sodium is so valuable in your body that it's phenomenal. And I'll give you a few examples in a moment, but the sodium is what keeps your calcium in solution in your blood. If it's not there, then you can't, you'll have that calcium dropping out of the bloodstream going into deposits, be it bone spurs or just regular plaque or whatever, but you're going to have that problem. So the sodium, you got the D takes it into your bloodstream, you got the vitamin or the sodium to keep it in solution, and then you got vitamin F. That's your omega-3, 6, 9 oils. That ionizes calcium, pulls it out, puts it into your tissue and bones. So now, to get this, you'd want to take, to start that process, you'd want to take, if you're doing a supplementation, calcium lactate. One enzymatic step away from being usable, ionizable calcium. Takes vitamin F to do that. So again, this is just little things in this database that, to me, these are the questions that I get a lot every day. I had an injury approximately 2 years ago, I guess it was, when we moved into a new house, and I fell down the steps in our hallway going into our living room area on the assumption that I knew where I was going in the dark. And I came down with a real complex case, I guess, of bursitis, where I couldn't move my right arm, I couldn't move it behind my back, I couldn't move it forward. And they wanted to operate on it and various things, and I said no. I just systematically went through the database again. You know, I had already done this research, so systematically I tried everything, glucosamine sulfate, I tried vitamin C. I went through a lot of things, and nothing was helping. And I realized that I was chasing an effect, and I needed to look at the cause. So a lady that you may all be familiar with, Hilda Clark of Canada, she had stated if you had bursitis, you have gallstones, period. And I thought that was impossible. So I said, all right, I'll take her concoction, which was quite interesting. Epsom salts and a great big glass of olive oil and a few other things. And I took this, and the next day I counted 500 gallstones. And I was truly amazed. But she said, that doesn't do you no good. You need to see 3,000. And I went, oh, I'm not going to do that concoction again. So, and it's in the database. You'll get to try it. Yeah, it's join the fun. So anyway, I said, okay, that doesn't work. I said, if I had gallstones, back to the database, what is it that causes gallstones? Gallstones are caused by a sodium deficiency. When you are short in sodium, the body takes the sodium out of the bile. Sodium holds water. Okay, so the bile, which was a solidified, or actually a very liquid solution, becomes solidified once the sodium was drawn out of the body. Therefore, the stones develop. I took sea salt, 1/2 teaspoon a day. In 3 days, I had 80% motion back in my arm. It had been 6 months since it had worked. So this gives you an idea that we're out of balance on the overall complexity of what we're doing every day, because we stop taking cholesterol foods because we think that cholesterol is bad for us. But yet, once you stop that, of course, the liver starts pumping out more cholesterol. So we're on the wrong road. When you stop doing sodium, but the salt shaker is a bad form of salt because it has aluminum in it and sugars added to it and a ton of other things. Sea salt is at least a better form, sun-dried sea salt, because it's more natural. It's got 80% sodium chloride. It has 20% of the other elements attached, which help move out excess sodium. And sodium moves out if you're drinking water. If you're dehydrated, another fun subject, it changes that. Again, the bursitis, just to finish that story, in 1 month was 100% history. I played on a men's basketball league following that. We won the tournament. I've never had another problem. Sodium, by the way, is it's called the youth element. It keeps your ligaments and your joints flexible. If you don't have the sodium, you could have stiff joints, arthritis. A lot of you have heard of Dr. Batman Geelich, Your Body's Many Cries for Water. I had the pleasure of talking to him for quite a while one evening, and we really got into a lot of this, understanding the two oceans within the body. There's an ocean of salt water, and there's an ocean... Okay. Apparently I don't talk very loud. Anyway, there's two oceans within the body, and one is salt water and one is clear water. The clear water is within the cell, and the salt water surrounds the cell. You've got to keep them in a balance. So if you're drinking lots of water and taking in no sodium, and the sodium foods is what most doctors recommend, by the way. I deviate from that quite a bit. But anyway, if you don't have the sodium with the water, the two oceans balance at the lowest level. So people are drinking all this water, and when you drink out the water, you're removing your sodium because it flushes it. You're still dehydrated. So if you're going to drink 8 glasses of water a day, you better be taking about a quarter teaspoon to a half a teaspoon of sea salt, sun-dried sea salt, or eating a lot of high vegetable foods rich in sodium, like carrots or spinach, maybe whey, stuff like that, that adds in the sodium. And again, everybody in the medical profession, nutritionists, etc., no one that I read except for Dr. Batman Geelich advises taking sodium in any form but food. I had my results taking sea salt straight in the palm of the hand. I can immediately, if I get a hangnail, take salt, maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon in the palm of my hand, throw it in my mouth, drink some water, and that hangnail is gone, ladies and gentlemen, in less than 2 minutes. Canker sores I used to have. Since I started increasing my sodium intake, I haven't had a canker sore in 8 months or better. These are little hints. There's a lot of people who have leg cramps at night, unprovoked leg cramps. You do that quarter teaspoon of sea salt and some water, you can't make your leg cramp. You can curl your toes up as tight as you want. And that's within minutes. This stuff is instantaneous how it functions in the body. Again, this is the nutritional aspect. When I go in and I look at a voice, I'm looking for all this harmonic balance in the body. I'm looking at the bioactive forms of things. If I want vitamin B6 or if I'm looking at glucose, people think that sugar gives you energy. The glucose that you eat in that candy bar goes into your body. It goes into the bloodstream, and it has to go to the liver. It has to be converted to glucose 1-phosphate. That's what the body wants. But when we keep flooding it with the processed flours, the processed sugars, and etc., we're jamming up the liver. So we're not getting the energy. We're using more energy to convert the sugars than we're getting out of it. So you have a negative energy flow. I mean, if eating a candy bar was energy, then everybody would have a real quick fix, but it doesn't work that way. We can see this in a voice analysis. Let me put it this way. We assume we see this on a voice analysis. This is not hardcore fact. The voice analysis program, we use it to find the associations to the nutritional factors. I cannot go into the voice program and say, you are short in calcium, or you do not have enough vitamin E. It doesn't really work that way. There is a range. When you take your symptoms, they will align up to what's going on in the body. Now, Marisol has displayed the program here. This is the database view here, and you can see all of the symptoms here, diarrhea and growth. There's a ton of areas. And I put in synonyms to help people. Out of that 1,200 symptoms, there's 2,400 synonyms. So if you understood pink eye, but you didn't know what conjunctivitis was, you just got to type in one of them and you've got your answer. And when people let me know that I'm missing something, I immediately update. I work this database every day. I have put in thousands of hours. And every time I work with a client, it forces me to update my information. I realize, wow, I don't have what I needed. I missed something. So I go back into the thousands of books and the research manuals that I have, and I find the answers. What is it I'm looking for? Because there's such neat little tie-ins that make your life function. And you should just have those readily available. And some of the stuff that I really like is stuff so simple like unsulfured blackstrap molasses, or maybe raw, unfiltered, natural honey, or the sea salt. And I have a lot of this stuff in there like that. There's a lot of herbal listings, but I'm not totally updated on herbs. I might have them in there in association to something, but I don't have the information on them. But I have maybe a few hundred, but I don't have the thousands that everybody's aware of. If somebody needed calcium, how about taking silicon? How about taking the herb horsetail or something like that, which is very high in silicon? Because silicon converts. There's a transmutation in the body that converts that to calcium. So these are little things that you can learn and maybe make adjustments to how you analyze or what you see in your life. But as much as we can come in, and I've taken a doctor in North Bend. I was lucky enough to start and get an office. I went in and did a demonstration. He was a chiropractic doctor of over 30 years. And his wife had a very stiff back. She couldn't turn her head at all. And I did the voice, and at that time it was a 30-second reading. I gave her a sound. We have a tone generator. It's about the size of a cigarette pack, and it gives back frequency that we see. What we try to do is balance that voice. We want to take high energies out. We want to technically just bring the voice into coherency so there's a flow pattern and something not missing. And we'll show you a little bit of that in a second. But when I analyzed her voice and I give her a frequency, and we have all the muscles in here, by the way. The muscles are phenomenal. Probably the most accurate thing I've ever seen. You just can't hide from them. When we give you a frequency, we're really right there. I showed the doc, and she said, well, I feel that in my back. And I showed the doctor the name. I says, too many letters for me to pronounce that. And so he looked at it on my computer, and he says, yes, that is the muscle in stress. And he showed me on the muscle chart. And I gave her a second frequency, and the back pain disappeared, and she could turn her head freely instantly. And I asked them, I says, has anybody mentioned a kidney problem? And they said no. I said, fine. And in 3 weeks, they called me, and they said, gee, it is a kidney problem. It shows up. And every time I think about it, it fascinates me. So I still get excited about this. But anyway, they were so excited about it that they gave me a free office. They wanted to keep an eye on me. And they kept me there until just a little over a year ago, 2 years ago, when I moved to Vashon Island. But that's the kind of things that will show up. I've had a person with gout so bad that they could not walk from me to this gentleman in the front row. He had Parkinson's disease. He was 44 years old. And I think I've mentioned this a few years ago, if you may have heard this. And I worked with him for 3 hours going over the various things, because he had been to every type of doctor. And people are just looking for answers, and that's all I'm here for. I'm just trying to provide an avenue of awareness to go beyond just, yeah, you got this and you're on your way, because we're all different. Everybody's different. With sound work and about a 3-hour session with this person, the gout had dissipated so much that he began doing 3-hour walks, and has done so for at least 4 or 5 years that I'm aware of, every day from that point on. All the oil came back in his skin. It had been gone for 7 years. It all came back the next morning. Frequency, vibration, what is it? We think everything's solid, but there's nothing solid. And that's why we see these relationships. And we're just continuously looking for answers so we can find out what is the true harmonic relationship of the voice. What's the voice telling us? Now, Marisol will explain this a lot better in a few moments. The voice is really a musical instrument. And we give sounds. You can tell when someone's mad. You can tell when they're happy. Because we play those sounds. We play that music. And that's really what it is. And that's what we're trying to see and give back. We're trying to bring harmony back into the voice. The database, again, gives you such a valuable tool. It just truly is. And I just love to see everybody with it, of course, and more so that we could get out of this disease syndrome that we're really into. We're driving ourselves into sicker and sicker situations because we're not aware of what we're doing to ourselves. And it's easy to ignore, but we got to take credit. You know, it starts with the individual. I can give people sound, and I can work with them. We can stop things from happening, but if they don't make changes, it comes back. I can give somebody a sound, look at their voice print, have them come back in 6 months or a year. I'll get the same voice pattern that I got the first time. Now, I may not be able to take their voice in 5 minutes after I take it and get the same pattern because everything changes it. If somebody touches you, it changes your voice pattern. It changes the harmonic vibrations within your body. But your standard pattern will be there. And we'll see it again. And I created, in addition to that, I created a little chart to try to help people understand, because I look at fifth harmonics. Music and voice and energy comes in spirals. You know, the stuff doesn't just come in like on a piano keyboard. There's a spiraling energy. There's a fifth harmonic energy flow, and there's a fourth harmonic energy flow that we're very aware of. The phi golden angle is a phenomenal ratio in voice analysis. It's phenomenal, and yet it's in all of creation and all of your plants. You see it everywhere, and that's what I study. I'm looking at what's nature doing, and that's what I want to do. I want to match nature, because nature put us together. And this creation that we have, there's no mistakes. You know, your tonsils weren't put in there to be removed instantly, and nor was your appendix. These things are important. You know, they're part of your lymph system. But we ignore that because we're smarter in nature, of course. So I want to get back to nature. I just want a balance. I want harmony. I want people to understand that harmony, have a tool to research it, and to go their way without interference. Choose your form of healings, whatever it may be, but if you study these programs, and especially when you look at the value, show me that one chart again. Yeah, Marcel, on that harmonics. And this is how the program, when we pick a sound, and that's all we do, we pick a primary note right off the voice print. We just tap it. We do a voice, we tap it, and it immediately, this computer system comes in and gives me all the frequency associations. I can look at that now, and that's a research tool for us, because we can go in now and look at that voice, look at the symptom factor, and see where we are, because we're trying to find out where are these harmonic relationships. Now, people are still using the molecular weight to frequency associations. This is the stuff that maybe some of you, Sherry Edwards has taught, and others. And at the third harmonic, this mathematical calculation that we do comes out to almost exactly what they're doing on molecular weight association at the third harmonic. And that's where you'll take something like 16, you double it to 32, and you double it again, or not double it again, but you add it again, and you get 48. At that 48 hertz, we get that association. That's the third harmonic. But anyway, that's quite a research tool for us, and for people who are going to get into sound therapy and want to work with this on their own and research it and see how this works, they'll really appreciate this chart here. Again, this chart, again, it just gives you an avenue of quick visual. You can see how the harmonics work in your body. And on the back, it gives you nutrients in every note and a little bit about all those nutrients. So you have really a quick reference chart to some tremendous things that go on in your body. And it's just at right on your fingertips. Very, very unique on the associations. And it has I don't know if you've ever heard of the Pythagorean alphabet. I mean, it's just reducing something like your name down to single digit, and then using that single digit to compare. This has that on the front. It explains how to do it. And you could take anything. It gives an example of like hypoglycemia, what have I got on there? hypoglycemia. And it just brings it down to a number. You can take it off the chart and you can see the note information and nutritional factors that apply to that. And, but anyway, that's just for those who like to do a very quick method and happily on their way. Now Marisol and the biosonic program, it'd be best if I allow her actually to explain how the biosonic program works. I was going to see here 1 second on that, Marisol. Yeah. Okay, good. I wanted to make sure that I'd covered one section. Yeah, you ready? Yeah.
Hello, I don't know if I can do it from here. I'm trying to manage the mouse and it doesn't seem to move from here. So I'm going to have to go.
Well, this microphone's not happening.
Oh, you have to point it over there and look over here.
Let me take it.
All right, okay. Anyway, all right. So, yeah. Okay, this is the biosonic program, and this is, yeah, I know the button. I just was pointing over there. And we can see this is a chromatic style program. It's like a chromatic tuner from a piano, but it's I want to see the forest before I see the trees. So this is showing us all the whatever we have as notes. We have up here. Let's see, we have the notes all the way up here across. If we leave the mouse there, it gives us the relationship of every note to any organ and meridian system. Then across the side here, we have all the different octaves, the +3, then the 2 to the -3, and we can actually click on analysis, and it will give us an analysis of the heavier notes, the weaker notes, that actually you can see here in color, the relationship of notes to color you see in this graph. So this person has too much D sharp and E, which relate to yellow and orange. Then we can go to the database, which actually we have a whole full, see, let me bring the mouse down, oops, there. We have a frequency listing that relates to the database. So when we click to a frequency here, we will go to the database, and I keep wanting to point there. We'll go to the database and we will see what this is about, or check the harmonic calculations of all the harmonics that will come. The difference with this program as a chromatic style of a piano tuner is that we get the fundamental frequencies, meaning that they are the frequencies from the vocal cords. And they are the ones that do the vowel sounds, and the consonants do hissing sounds, and it changes all the harmonics from those vowel sounds through all the vocal cavity, the way we use our tongue, and the facial expressions. So the uniqueness of this program is that we are getting the real fundamental frequencies of the voice. We don't have as much range as an FFT program, but we will get into an FFT too. Okay, this is just to see the forest, and then we can get into the trees studying the frequencies. And once we go into what we call Fourier frequency transform, which is called an FFT, which is an oscilloscope, we get so many frequencies we can really study how those harmonics go up and what do they mean. So it's a very complete tool, because not only we can here see it related to color, but we have, for people that don't want to complicate themselves too much, we will be able to click on the text button. That's the frequency, I think. Oh, the text is coming up. And we will have a full interpretation of what the notes, meridians that are weak, that are stressed, the psychological interpretation, and that can be printed. So, people that don't want to, are not ready to handle really heavy research with this, they will be able to do, just give this to their clients. And a lot of doctors and neurologists are working with this in Spain, and they're amazed how the interpretation fits the problem of the person. What I've been studying also is how the voice changes. There is patterns of change. There's like the voice can change from the morning to the night in people that have a lot of metabolic hormonal problems. Some people, it doesn't change so much. So I've studied the patterns of change that that person has during the day to understand how we can affect change on voice. So this is just the beginning of hopefully a long research we will do with voice analysis. And what my aim is to give a really user-friendly tool that we can, anybody can use, because anybody can print out this interpretation list and see how that relates to the symptoms of the problem of the person. Just know the note. We could use it for music therapy and just give them that note. Create different types of things with color or sound therapy, or get into deep research with frequencies and nutrients and harmonics. And this will be, this is done by a Proinfo, which is a medical software company in Spain that works with me, and it's just the one module of 4 that we plan. My aim is to understand how the healing system boots up. I mean, I am fed up of trying to understand illnesses when we don't try to understand healing. And there's sometimes miracles that happen, and this has to do with vibration. And what I have come up with is that that happens with the happiness of a person. When the person is happy, the voice has higher tones, has every note, there's no imbalance, you can hear it in the voice. And also, my aim in this is that we shouldn't imitate the old paradigm, getting into frequencies and getting into just telling the people what to do. But we also have to learn to hear. In this system, we can hear what the voice, what the person is saying. At the same time, where's the mouse now? Oh, it went all the way up there. So we can actually just click on, let's see, I bring it down. Oh, there, I have to point it there. So we can click on start, and we just, or we can actually just click a portion of a word and tell the person, well, what happens when they say that word, So we want to hear the person at the same time that they are talking and say, well, what frequencies they give and what nutrients they are giving themselves when they are saying mother. And maybe we can teach them to say mother another way. What I pretend is that the technology does not take our intuitive capacity, but we join it. We know that the voice is a carrier of intention, and that we actually portray that intention, and we're always communicate with each other with the voice. And we know if someone is saying the truth or not. We don't feel that way when we don't know the language. We feel lost because we really do not know if the person is telling the truth or not, so because we don't speak the same language. But when we speak the same language, from the tone, from a lot of things, we pick up intuitively, and it seems that these things are getting lost, and we don't want that this tool is going to bring us to imitate the old paradigm, which the allopathic doctors, which we are criticizing. We have to use it in every possible way. We have to learn to listen. We have to learn to, as a biofeedback tool, teach the person how they can say mother without giving them the stress frequencies or the nutrients they don't want. Maybe we can work with them and they can see, well, okay, finally I said mother with another tone that is benefiting me. Or find out which are the vowel sounds that have your name, or the notes that your name when you mention your name. Maybe you're actually giving yourself the stress notes and the nutrients that are not benefiting you by constantly saying your name in a specific way or tone. So it's going to have a lot of possibilities. It's quite easy to use certain things that are already established, and then it's going to be open to leave it for every kind of research. So it's going to have the possibility of anybody using it, because as long as they know how to deal with a computer, record, and just click on interpretation text and print that, as well as just getting really deep into research with the nutrients and the harmonics and everything else. So I hope I did a short presentation that was good enough, and thank you very much.
They have done a really great job with the biosonic program. Edward Carreras, who is the programmer that works with Marisol out of Madrid, very sharp gentleman, really sharp. He works with a lot of the pharmaceutical companies as far as doing programming for them, and there are different types of programs that are displayed and used, so he understands an awful lot. And so the technique and the research tools that we have and have been applied to this are quite impressive. And this thing is good for the individual, or it's good for the practitioner who does client work. It's good in every avenue of whatever you so choose to take. But one very important thing is remember that voice work is research. It is not a cure for disease. We have some phenomenal results at times, but that's that individual's healing, and we can't really take total credit or any credit at all in this. It's the individual. So we're just giving back. We're trying to create a harmony. We're trying to bring back awareness that you're more than just your individual parts. You are a complete complex, just like the world requires everybody to live together to create actual harmony. Same thing with the body. I would welcome any questions if we have any at this time.
Do you have to come to your office to do this voice analysis, or can it be done over a telephone conversation?
Most people so far that I work with, I have them come to me. The biggest thing that I'm looking for, I want to understand what's creating the situation. I ask a lot of questions on nutrition. I'm really interested in what they're eating, how they're thinking, and what's going on. I have taken a voice print via the phone. We have another practitioner here that does it all the time. That's up to the individual. And I'm just not sure of the interference on the phone line if I'm getting the correct frequency readings that I want. And so that's where I'm at on that. I would rather do it in person.
Where is your office, and how much is the fees for it?
Well, I live on Vashon Island in Washington, the state of Washington, just off of Seattle. And I'm presently charged $75 per hour. So far, I haven't been charging people correctly, but I usually spend 2 to 3 hours with people for that charge. But when I get the practice up and running on Vashon, like I had it over in Snoqualmie, I would stick with that. And within an hour, we can cover just about anything a person needs, especially with the new system that we've got now compared to what we had to work with before.
Is this based anything on Royal Rife, the frequencies that he was dealing with?
Say that one more time, please.
Royal Rife, who was dealing with frequencies, is there any similarities or parallels?
Well, probably a parallel for anybody in frequency research. That's really about all I could tell you, because on the Rife frequencies, there are people that want the database to work with that same frequency, because when we take the frequency I put into the database, the actual molecular structure of everything. So I have the mole weight, I have the chemical makeup immediately shown. The Rifers like the higher frequency ranges, in other words, they run 2,000 to 3,000 range, whereas we're down at C-4 octave, quite a change. They have results, we have results. So, you know, we've got a lot to learn as to what is correct on that.
Hi, I'm John Bancroft. Is this in CD-ROM format? And can you do this with a microphone on the audio part of it into the computer?
That is correct. It's actually designed to be mobile, and it is a CD application, or it can be downloaded onto your hard drive, which I do. And it's mobile because I may go to a hospital, or I may go to someone's home. I do an awful lot of home calls, and it hooks right into the mic right off the computer, and it's filtered up. I have no problems with that. The only thing that's required is to unplug. Don't plug your computer into the house current, because you'll get a 60 hertz interference on the computer. Other than that, it's perfect. You just plug in after you got the voice print.
Rick Shamber, Craig, Colorado. This is sort of a follow-up. Is that then therefore available to folks with computers? In other words, are you selling the CD-ROM? Can we get access to that database, and how much is it?
I guess that's a good thing to bring out, huh? Thanks. Yes, we are selling it on a CD-ROM. And what we're planning, or we're presently sold out at this moment. We're waiting for a further follow-up coming out of Spain. The CD will be, it's one CD, and we're going to have both programs on that one CD, the Biosonic program and the Nutritional Sounds database. A person can purchase one or the other. You don't have to purchase both, but if you decide to purchase both, then they totally interact. We give you the code to open those on your computer. The Biosonic program, Marisol, is how much?
$210.
It's $210 for the Biosonic program, and the Nutritional Sounds database is $125. This is US dollars.
Yes, Carl, I really don't have a question. I just wanted to say that we are doing a training next week so that people can become practitioners, and there are local practitioners, and there is a sign-up sheet on the table for people if they want appointments with Carl, Marisol, or anyone else that's a practitioner in this area at this time. So if you come by and talk to us, you can also experience, we have many forms of giving you therapy with the sound now if you want to come by and take a look at the table in the back.
Thank you, Julie. That table's in the very back. It says Sound for Health.
Yeah, Joe Blankenship. I'd just like to ask, have you done the frequencies on various different foods and then compared the foods with food that has been enriched with certain minerals or organics?
That I haven't, or I haven't the means to do that, Joe. I wish we did. And as we move along here, I come into contact with more and more people that allow me these various avenues to pick up these frequencies that we need. Everything that I have now is based on the Merck index because it has the chemical structure of most things, but not everything. I can't find it all there. I find some things in other places, and some I create once I've known what the chemical makeup is.
Have you went into music and comparing the music to actually adjusting the frequencies to diseases?
Run that by me one more time.
Oh, have you taken sacred music, Fibonacci numbers, and taken this music and played it for certain diseases and gotten results?
That I have not done. Again, it's a time frame that I run into. I put 90% of my time into data collection, associations.
You got an answer on that one?
But don't go away yet, Joe. Let Marisol answer that, because she's done a lot more of this information that you're doing right now, so let her answer that for you.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Well, we all have relationships of notes with music, like some even classical music down to the note of something, note of C or note of B or note of E. So once we know in a simple way, let's say if one doesn't want to get really involved with this program, if we note the missing note on the person, we can recommend certain music. And it does affect, it's not as effective as other types of therapy. But the types of therapy that I have used is using a prism, putting light directly with the missing color right into the eye. It has an enormous effect, and that is the reason why I started to get into voice analysis. I want to make sure I had the right wavelength, because it really would hurt people. It does a tremendous emotional and conscious expansion. And I use also tuning forks in the body with cranial sacral therapy. That's the research I do also with dolphins. And it's a very good tool for music therapy, because we would actually be able to decide the music that is most benefit for the person. So there's many, many ways to use the program. They're both sold separately, the database from the program, and they both talk to each other. So there's many different ways to use it. If one wants to research just the nutrients and what they are and what the effects are, well, maybe you need only the database. If you want to research just into music therapy and to find out which is the missing note or the missing color, maybe you only need the Biosonic program. But if you have a missing color, there are a number of nutrients within that missing color. So, you know, if you have both, you have the whole lots, and also the possibility of just finding out which are the deficiencies. So there's much more that one can do into music therapy if you just analyze the voice.
One of the things, magnetic oxide, the Fe304, it's what they put all video, audio tapes on. It not only records color, but the paromagnetics is something that's really, really interesting. Have you done any work on the paromagnetics? Not north-south, but paro.
No on that.
Talk to you later.
That part I like. I like any information that I can get, be it, like we talked to Joyce and stuff, if it's on the Gulf War, if people know chemicals, especially anything that's affecting people, I would love to get information on this. I take the information, I put it together, and the database is full of these lists. I put these lists together. You have a list of amino acids, you have a list of halogens, and I don't know if you even know about halogens. A lot of people do, some don't. That's your fluorine, your chlorine, your bromide, and your iodine. And folks, you got to know how these things work, because when people start giving you all the chlorinated water and you chlorinate your swimming pool and you're jumping into it, it takes away your iodine. See, it works on it's got a pecking order, and it goes by the atomic number, the atomic elements, how many electrons in this orbit. And so fluorine comes first, no matter what, followed by chlorine, then bromide. All the guys that really kick you pretty good. The halogens are the most unstable group of the elements. And they're sitting right next, of course, to the noble gases, the most stable group, and that's where everybody wants to get them to. So these things can be taking your iodine out. There goes your thyroid. What happens then? You got toxic materials going into your brain. So it's just an awareness as to why this works, but it's all in there. And I've put it so many different directions, and then I'm just wait for feedback for people to tell me, I couldn't find this. If you can't find it, I'm going to change it till you can find it. So,
Rick Shamber, Craig, Colorado again. Just a quick follow-up question. The CD-ROM, is that available in Macintosh or PC format? Both, in neither?
Both of them will run in a Macintosh if you have virtual PC. Okay? At this moment, I am a Mac person, but I didn't dare to, while the program was getting done, to run it from a Mac, because if you have sort of these little errors while you're getting the program done, then I will never know if it's because it was on the Mac. But I've run it from a Mac. Huh? Only you need a big, powerful Mac with virtual PC.
Hi, Alice Rose. When do you decide whether to give someone a substance or a sound, that type of thing? Suppose a substance is missing. Would you always go to the substance, or would you go to a missing note or supply them in some other way?
okay. When I see any person, I take a sound print, no matter what. If they want to talk to me, I want a voice print. I want to know what the association is to what they're telling me after they leave. It might take me weeks or months, because I continuously go back and I look for associations. Once I've discovered something new, a new harmonic relationship to the body, maybe where I start working with a different formulation of how this harmonic works, I need that voice print. And I need those symptoms. I need to see this correlation to what goes on in the body. So every person will take a voice print.
What I have been working a lot of times with light, and I think I have a lot more stable results with light. But I would say that if anybody has any more metabolic and hormonal problems, we would be treating them with light. I have demonstrations in the EEG how just the light treatment will create 3 and 4 delta waves in the brain and will do biochemical changes. I showed them yesterday, and I will show them during the workshop. Structural things will happen more with sound. I mean vibration on the sound, like with tuning forks. But you can relate it to, it depends on how deep you want to get into something. If you want to really relate it to nutrients, then you will decide the nutrient that is within the scope of the problem, and then relate it to the database and the formulas of harmonics that Carl does. But if you just don't want to get so involved, you can go for notes, you know. It has many levels of expertise, so it can be for people that just want to start, like for people that want to get really deep into it. And the database is very easy to use, so that if you have a background of wanting to understand the nutrients, then you really want to go to have the full program with the database.
Okay, it looks like we're out of time. I'd like just to finish with a quote from the book, The Power of Limits. It's by Dazi. And it says that the essence of all vibration and rhythm is a sharing of diversities, weak and strong, in and out, up and down, back and forth, at recurrent time intervals. This holds true for the tides of the ocean, as for our heartbeat, for light, weight, and sound, as for the patterns of plant growth. We're all that vibration, and we're all that rhythm, and it takes harmony complete. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carl. Just remember, all you got to do, you talk into a microphone for 20 to 30 seconds, and it's amazing. Don't matter whether you speak English, Japanese, or Swahili. It's the frequency that matters. Now, we need your help. somewhere probably between here and there, back there, a little bitty round black ball fell off of Troy Reed's lavalier microphone. And we don't know where it is, but those things are pretty hard to replace. So if anybody sees something like that, it goes with Troy Reed's microphone. I would like to talk to Joe Blankenship and the Eatons and Brian Desborough, please.